Hello and welcome to this session in which we would look at legal liabilities of CPAs when they are acting as tax preparer. And the reason why I emphasize the word tax preparers because we also have legal liabilities of CPA when it comes to auditing. Now, when it comes to auditing, I do cover that topic in my audit course. But in this session, we'll focus more toward tax preparer. I'm going to start with a scenario that involved Mr. Johnson. And through this scenario, I will explain what I need to explain throughout this session. So it was April 14th, and Mr. Johnson was sipping his coffee and decided to check on his tax return. His CPA promised that everything would be filed on time, but when Mr. Johnson called, the CPA admitted he didn't even start it yet. And we're talking about April 14th. If you know anything, the due date is April 15th, and most likely they are not going to file that on time. A week later, Mr. Johnson was hit with thousands in IRS penalties because they filed late. Now, what could Mr. Johnson do? Well, they're going to go ahead and sue the CPA. Call their lawyer, and let's start to see what we can do here. Now, what started as a simple missed deadline, it could be go to the courtroom over whether, we're going to have two issues here that we can sue under. The CPA broken a promise. If that's the case, that's fine. The CPA broken a promise. We can deal with that. It's a breach of a contract violation. And or it could be that the CPA failed to do his or her job diligently. It could be also they committed a tort. They did something wrong. So there's breach of a contract is one. They did not keep their promise. Two, did they do something wrong? Now, two different legal paths, but both carrying serious consequences for CPA and tax preparers. So that's why you have to be very careful when you're a CPA, EA. You have to know what is your legal liability. So we're going to dive into this topic today. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, FarhatLectures.com. You are here because you are serious about mastering taxation. Whether you are taking a tax course, studying for the CPA exam, or enrolled agent, tax feels overwhelming, not because it's impossible, but because it's dense, detailed, and often taught at a pace that doesn't match the way you learn. The rules can feel disconnected, and the logic isn't always explained clearly. At Farhat Lectures, we slow it down. We explain the why behind the rules, break concept into simple steps, and rebuild your understanding from the ground up without assuming any prior knowledge. When explanation matches your learning, everything changes. The confusion fades, the rules start to connect, and tax becomes manageable. If you are ready to understand tax with clarity and confidence, start your free trial at FarhatLectures.com and let's build your tax foundation together. So let's start by talking about the two main legal framework, which we said it's breach of a contract. If you breach the contract, if you promise something and you could not deliver it and you breach that contract, usually you promise to deliver something by a deadline, usually April 15th for tax preparers, assuming you promise that. Contract law is involved when a CPA agrees to provide services. They are contractually obligated to perform those services with diligence, accuracy, and on time. If they fail to do so, they violated that contract, or they could be sued under tort law. Now, as a CPA or as an enrolled agent, you have a duty to act with reasonable care and skills. So failure to do so might result in harm that could lead to tort liability. Now, we're going to talk about tort liability because not all tort liability are equal. But we're going to start first with the breach of a contract, which is it's covered under contract law. As a CPA candidate, you need to be very familiar with contract law when it comes to the business law section of the CPA exam. So what's a breach of a contract? Well, it happens when a CPA fails to meet the terms of an agreement with a client. We're going to keep it simple for this. You promised to file my return on time. You failed to do so. There's a breach of contract. You didn't do anything else wrong. You filed everything correctly, but you did not file it on time. Now, usually, the defense that the CPA or the tax preparer will carry is you did not give me the necessary paperwork on time, or you did not give me that paperwork altogether. Now, who can sue under the breach of contract? In other words, who is the CPA liable to? You need to know this. That's your exposure. Only parties directly involved in the contract. What does that mean? It means the person that contracted you. So Mr. Johnson and the CPA, they have a legal enforceable agreement. Mr. Johnson wanted their tax return to be prepared, and that's the agreement. They have a privity to the contract. They can sue for the breach. So Mr. Johnson, cousin, brother, sister, they cannot sue for anything because they're not in privity. So there's a closed legal door. Obviously, there are exceptions unless in that contract someone else was named, must be mentioned. So if Mr. Johnson getting their tax return prepared or their audit prepared to get a loan from the bank or to show this to investors, and that person is named, then that person also, that party can sue as well. So exception exists. So the plaintiff here must show that the CPA agreed to perform the specific services and failed to do so. They breached the contract. So let's keep it simple. Sarah hires a CPA to file her 2024 tax return by April 15th. The CPA did not file until May 20th, causing Sarah to pay IRS penalties. Sarah incurred losses. Why? The CPA filed late. So Sarah can sue for a breach of contract because the CPA did not meet the agreed deadline, resulting in financial loss. Unless in the contract they says, well, you have all the way up until May 20th. It's the contract that's being violated. The CPA did not do anything wrong filing the tax return, except that they file it late, violating that contract. Now let's go back to Mr. Johnson example and tweak it a little bit. Now, April 14th, sipping their coffee, they decided to check on their tax return. The CPA accepted the engagement earlier and assured Mr. Johnson that everything was under control. However, when the CPA began preparing the return, the CPA failed to review the client's paper year filing, which is something you have to do as a CPA minimum, and overlooked several important IRS forms that were clearly required for Mr. Johnson business income. So they did not look at the prior year filing, which that's the first thing you should do as a CPA or as a tax preparer, part of the due diligence. And the IRS sent few notification to Mr. Johnson. Then we overlooked those as well. The CPA also missed the electronic filing deadline due to poor record keeping and lack of reasonable follow-up. They did not file on time. Again, a few weeks later, Mr. Johnson received a notice that they have to pay penalties and additional interest charges. We have a problem here. The issue here, though, was it was not intentional. The CPA was not intentional that they ignored the deadline or violated the specific contract term. They did not do it intentionally. That's important. Intention is important. And they did not overlook the other thing intentionally. What they did is they did not exercise reasonable care. Like lame language, they were lazy. They did not perform the proper due diligence expected from a competent professional CPA. That's what happened here. So they committed a tort. Now, not all torts are equal. When you commit a tort, well, there's a different severity of it. But I have to emphasize that we moved from a breach of a contract to tort, because sometimes you might be dealing with a client without a contract. It means if there's no written contract, you're preparing a return for a friend, you are still held liable under tort liability. You have to do this. You have to prepare the return the proper way. So you could still be liable that you committed a tort. So a wrongful act that causes harm. Now, again, not all tort are the same. The three most common relevant tort to CPAs are negligence or ordinary negligence. Basically, it's like failing to use reasonable care. You could have committed gross negligence, or also called constructive fraud. Now, here you are extremely careless. So let's call negligence, you are just careless. Here you are extremely careless, showing reckless disregard for truth or accuracy. Or you could have committed fraud, and this is, you're doing this intentionally. So notice between gross negligence or constructive fraud and fraud. Fraud is you're doing this, you know you're doing it on purpose. It's not like you are careless and extremely careless. you are doing this knowingly it's wrong. Knowingly it's wrong. And you are being deceit. So those are the three levels. Now in this session, I will focus on the negligence or ordinary negligence. In the next session, I will focus on gross negligence and fraud. I'll keep those together. So negligence. What's negligence? It occurs when a CPA does not act with a level of care. No intent. They did not do it on purpose. A classic example is the failure to review the staff work. So they have a staff or an intern. They prepared the return. As a CPA, they're supposed to review it. They didn't do it because that's something expected from a reasonably skilled CPA in similar circumstances. Now, to prove negligence, the plaintiff must show four things. First, that the CPA owed a duty of care. That's easy. As soon as you accept that engagement, you have duty of care. So as soon as you accepted the audit engagement, the tax preparation engagement, you establish this. By accepting the job, the CPA has a professional duty to follow auditing standard and tax procedures. Why? Even if you don't know the work, you're supposed to learn it or get some help. You owe a duty of care. You cannot say, I'm not familiar with this. If you accepted the work, that's it. As a CPA, you are held to that standard. Also, you breach that duty by not exercising due care. So you have a duty, you breach the duty. So the CPA skips certain key audit procedures or certain tax filing procedures. You breach that duty. 3, that breach caused injury or loss. So you have to show that there is a duty of care. The CPA did not carry that duty of care, and that duty of care caused injury or loss. Because you skip that tax procedure, the CPA misses $500,000 fraud, or they did not file the proper paperwork. So the breach, skipping the procedure, directly caused the client financial harm. And obviously you have to be able to measure that harm. You have to be, in a court of law, show that the losses and the additional legal fees. And that's easy because the IRS would send you a bill, and the legal fees, you're going to be hiring someone to do the work for you, a lawyer. So the loss must be measured in dollar, making it compensable in court. Now, as far as negligence, so that's what you have to show. You owed a duty of care as a client. The CPA breached that, caused injury or loss, and that injury or loss can be measurable. Now, who can sue under the negligence? So if the CPA committed negligence, normally only client or named parties, like the breach of contract, and foreseeable third parties. What's foreseeable third parties? If a client came to you and say, okay, I want you to prepare this tax return or perform this audit for me. Again, we're talking about tax return here because I want to take my tax return to the bank, and based on this tax return, the bank's going to determine whether they're going to give me a loan or the private equity firm will invest in my company. Okay. Now, who the CPA know, they would rely on the work. Once you know this, once you know that there's someone else relying on the work, then they are also called foreseeable third parties, and they can sue. Now, in certain state, that's not allowed. In certain state, you have to be named to be a privity to the tort. You have to be named in that contract. So you cannot be not known. You have to be known. You have to be known. You have to be named in that contract. So, for example, a CPA prepares a company's financial statement knowing they will be given to a bank for a loan. If the CPA make careless error, negligence, and the bank suffer losses, the bank may sue for negligence even though it's not the CPA direct client. Assuming, again, the state allows this. In certain state, you can't do that because you have to be privity to the contract. So what did we cover in this session? Just to wrap it all up. First, you have to know if there's a breach of contract, which is basically under contract law, you did not deliver what you promised. That's one thing CPA need to be aware of, liability for them. The second thing is you committed a tort, some sort of a negligence. You did not do your work properly. You made careless error. And as a result, the client or the foreseen party suffered losses, and those losses are measurable. Now let's take a look at this multiple choice questions from farhatlectures.com. A CPA is hired to audit Brightech. The CPA fails to confirm the account receivable with customers, even though audit procedures require it. So if you know anything about an audit, if you are auditing account receivable, you have to send confirmation. Later on, a major receivable is found to be fake. There is $200,000 of receivable. It's a fake receivable. The client don't exist, or the client don't owe them anything. We're talking here about which elements of negligence does this failure primarily represent? Because you did not do the work, what does it represent? Is it duty of care, breach of duty, causation, or damages? Now, on Farhat lectures, what you can do, if you forgot the concept, you could ask the AI to explain the elements of negligence before you answer the question, if you would like to. And after you answer the question, you could ask AI to explain the correct and incorrect answer, or you could ask AI to create a similar MCQ, kind of to give you more practice. But let's go ahead and answer this question ourselves. Did they violate the duty of care? I would not say so, because that duty was already established as soon as you accepted the client. That's it. Accepting the client will have duty of care, and you have to do the work properly. That's not what happened here. Was it breach of duty? Yes, you did not do your work properly. As an auditor, if you're auditing the account receivable, unless you can show otherwise, you're supposed to send confirmation to make sure those receivable are legitimate or real. You did not do that. I would say here you violated this breach of duty. You did not do the work that's required of you. Is it causation? Well, causation links the breach to the loss. So that breach led to the loss. That's what causation is. Here we're focusing on the act itself, which is not performing the work that you're supposed to do, which is sending account receivable confirmation. What is it? The damages. What are damages? Damages means the amount of the loss. It refers to the actual measurable loss, the dollar amount, not the act of failing to follow the procedures. So here we have breach of duty. The element is breach of duty. What should you do? Now you want to go to Farhat lectures, look at additional resources, multiple choice. If there's true, false, if there's additional lectures, whether you are a CPA exam candidate, enrolled agent, college student, invest in yourself and don't breach the contract and don't commit any tort. See you in the next recording.